Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on marketing management, and we have been talking about rural marketing. So this is going to be part 2 of our lectures on rural marketing, and in the first lecture of mine I tried to give you the basic definition of what exactly we mean by rural marketing, rural India, and what are the key traits of that rural market that all we had discussed. Now we will be talking about the growth drivers and the kind of challenges we are witnessing in rural marketing, and the way marketers have to bring changes into their 4 Ps and what is the concept of 4 As. So these two are the different aspects which we are going to present before you in this very lecture of mine. So let us talk about the growth drivers in rural India. So the first one is the increasing income and aspiration. So there is the higher income levels are fueling increased consumption and demand for quality goods and services, because most of the people who are involved into the agriculture, they are now having the cash crops also. So these cash crops are making this agriculture entirely an agribusiness. So they are into not only into the hardcore agricultural activity, but they are also looking at from the perspective of doing a business, having the cash crops in their kitty, and also they have some opportunities for, they have some options for creating the seasonal employment, so that due to seasonal unemployment, the labor which were actually migrating from rural areas to urban areas, that should stop. So this is the first growth driver which we could witness here, is that there is an increasing trend in terms of income and aspiration. The second one is, of course, thanks to the government initiatives, programs like DBTs, which we call as direct benefit transfer or direct cash transfers, and other schemes in the food processing sector, they are actually boosting rural income and infrastructure. So there is huge development, there is a huge change in terms of the rural infrastructure and their propensity to consume their disposable income, because of the government initiatives which were earlier into the plans, and now they are on the surface in terms of its implementation. So the third one is, of course, which is the most significant one, that is called digital connectivity. There is a rise of digital and mobile connectivity in expanding access to e-commerce and digital payments, and that have actually brought marketers closer to the rural people, because they can now communicate to their customers through digital platforms, through their different websites or different kind of advertisements. They are passing on the information to even rural India. The next one is improved channels of distribution. Of course, we have been talking about Gati Shakti, and fast moving consumer goods companies, they are enhancing their distribution networks to reach rural consumers more efficiently and effectively. And owing to this Gati Shakti scheme, the entire India is being covered under the rapid transportation facilities. The huge investment in the infrastructure has actually brought significant changes, not only into the urban area, but also into the rural areas, and that have actually improved the entire distribution system, or what you call as the supply chain management. So this improved distribution is also regarded as one of the significant growth driver in the rural India. Now if we talk about some of the distinct traits of rural consumers, we have to identify some of the significant one, and that is why I am presenting before you the significant one only. The rural India actually relies on word of mouth publicity. As we all know that there is a very famous or very seminal work in the field of psychology, which talks about the word of mouth publicity, the word of mouth communication, that if you are satisfied with a particular product or service or a person, you will speak out to 3 people, and if you are not satisfied, if you are unhappy, you would speak to at least 11 people. So you can understand the magnitude of negative publicity. If I am happy with you, I will speak out to 3 people, but if I am not happy, of course I am going to spread negativity about your image, about your personality, about your products, about your services, to at least 3 times what I could have done in case the response could have been positive. So if I am happy, I am speaking to 3 people, and if I am not happy, I am speaking to 11 people. That is something which the study is indicating. So it the rural people, they rely on word of mouth heavily, especially when purchasing high involvement ticket items are concerned, when they are going for the high involvement goods, that is called as durable products. So they, often they go for purchasing as a collective decision making process. They go through a collective decision process. They not only talk to their family and friends, but also to their acquaintances, to their villagers, because in villages we all understand that the connectivity or the communication is very fast, and they are very much connected. They have a lot of time also in terms of exchanging the ideas, and while being on the work also, they can exchange the ideas, they can talk, they can communicate. That is why the decision is always collective, mostly collective, and not alone when it comes to high involvement goods, that is called as durable products. The second important trait which we can find in case of rural consumers is that they are mostly brand loyal, and switching is very rare. They are not switchers. The switching is very rare, and they often require strong cues, for instance reference points and better price points. If somebody is referring that yes, you have been trying an old product, why don't you change, and that too coming from a person to whom they look as a the point of influence, then only they are going to change. So unless there is a reference point or there is a better price point, the rural customers are mostly they are brand loyal, and once they are satisfied with a particular brand, they hardly try to change it. So this brand loyalty is something which can act as the element of motivation to the marketers, because once you have established your faith among those customers, you are going to become the market leader. Nothing can stop you from being the market leader or enjoying the market share, significant market share for long. Next is rural consumers. They often prefer semiotics to differentiate between the brands. For instance, they go by the color, logo, signs or symbols. They are the great differentiators. At times, even without reading the name of the brand, by simply looking at the color, logo, style, design or symbol of that particular product, they identify that yes, this is something which I want. So while doing the shopping at a particular store, mostly in case of FMCG products, this is something which can be witnessed, that they are preferring semiotics to differentiate between the brands. They know that yes, if this is my preferred product, it must come in this color, and if there is a change in the color by the marketer, then of course the store owner is going to tell them that yes, there is a change by the company. So you can imagine that the kind of connectivity, the kind of connect they are having with their preferred brand. The next trait in the line is that rural consumers are often dependent on cash based transactions. This has been a long standing trend that they prefer the cash based transactions, although with the emergence of Kisan credit cards, which is being offered by the RRBs, that is called regional rural banks, it has actually brought a lot of change even into the rural India. So those Kisan credit cards, they are there for those farmers who are actually completely dependent upon the agriculture. So they can avail the credit facility on their card, and at the time of the cultivation of the crop, or when the crop is being cut and they get cash, they can return that money to their banker. So this trend is somehow now getting changed, but still they are often dependent on cash based transactions. They prefer, majority of them, they prefer cash based transactions, and they want cash for their purchase activities. And another important and most significantly visible trend is that social events like marriages and other rituals, they hold significant importance in their activities. They are actually considering those events, marriages and rituals, to be the most important activity or the ritual in their life, and much of these events have to do with the buying of durables and automobiles, etc. If you talk about the marriage season, when they have to go for these events, then of course they are buying durables and automobiles. So the role of social media and the other related sources of information, they have also become significant, because in most cases they are helping in purchase hierarchy process. So the role of social media now cannot be denied, because since they are having smartphones in their hands, so they are not away from the exposure to the social media. So what is their decision making process. Usually what they do, they here the social media is helping in the influencer stage, where the various set of information helps in making an informed decision. And although it may be, we can understand that the final decision is eventually not made only on such sources. They always talk to the people who had the first hand experience of using that particular product when it comes to durable one. Even if a person who is going to buy a durable product in one village, he or she can move on to another village, if they come to know that in that particular village one person has bought the same brand. So what kind of experience they have, they simply make a visit there and ask them about their first hand experiences. So they actually believe into the experiential buying, and that is why we always say that feeling is believing. That is actually the mantra for success, not only in the urban India but also in the rural India. So the role of communication in creating top of mind awareness is something which matters a lot. Below the line of activities, for instance in store merchandising and other activities, for instance wall painting, shop painting, and hoardings, they are also helping in generating awareness among rural population. So you can generate awareness by the way of painting the wall painting or the shop painting, or at times even the signages which are being placed in the busy area of the rural markets, that can also generate awareness. So role of communication cannot be denied here. We all understand that bold colors and symbols, they help in better exposure and identification. So rural consumers are usually dependent on referral in in case, specifically in case of durable products, through reference groups in making decisions. So here comes the role of teachers, educated people, ex servicemen, or the people who have actually reversely migrated to rural areas, which means earlier they migrated to cities for their livelihood and now they are back to the villages. So those migrants, they are supposed to be popular, they are supposed to be people having greater exposure and experience of using multiple brands. So those reverse migrants, they are some of the people who help in influencing. So they become the influencers, they become the point of reference, and there is always a trickle down impact that people at large, they are actually looking at them and they consider them to be a reference group, and their ideas are very much important and they are honored and regarded. So given these traits of rural market, we have to now understand what are the key challenges in rural marketing. So the key challenge from my point of view is that the first one is the access to credit and finance. Although there is an increasing trend of providing better banking facilities to rural customers by the way of regional rural banks, but still there is much below from that, from the kind of service we are having in urban areas. For instance, we can talk about the access to credit and finance facilities. Banks are providing, but those villagers, they are having some inhibition, some doubt that we may have to pay extra interest on that amount which we are going to take as a loan. So they still consider loan to be a bad thing, and that is why the access to credit and finance, although it is being provided by the government, but still they are not using with that encouragement for which the government is always there to inform them, to persuade them, but still somehow there is restricted access to credit and finance. Second is lack of education and awareness. Some of the rural people, either they are not that educated, or even if they are educated, the level of awareness is very low. So they are not aware of those facilities of government of India. You can understand that before the Mudra Yojana, or the people were not exposed to the banking and financing facilities in that manner in which now they are. So that is now the trend is on the increasing side, that it is increasing, that we are now not having that much of lack of education and awareness, but still that exists. The presence of brokers and middlemen, which actually creates a challenge for the small farmers and cultivators, that is also there. The information gap, of course, in terms of the facilities being announced and finally reaching to the local level, that is also a major challenge in rural India. And politicization of most activities. including this scheme implementation and exploitation due to information gap, that is also existing in some parts of the country, in some parts of the rural areas, but that is very rare. Now coming to defining the rural marketing, what exactly we do in rural marketing, what it is all about. After having a broad understanding of what exactly the rural India is, what are the key traits, how it differs from urban India, what are the challenges we are going to face, now we should talk about rural marketing. So rural marketing is basically a broad term which comprises of several activities, which is actually comprising of so many activities which are being performed by the marketers who are operating in rural areas. So it is actually a function of all efforts which are made by the companies to move their already marketed goods and services to the rural consumers, and that gives them satisfaction, enhances their standard of living, and thereby attains to the organizational goal. So rural marketing is actually all about passing on the products and services, providing the products and services to the rural customers, and ensuring their level of satisfaction, ensuring that their standard of living should also improvise, and meanwhile marketer is also going to achieve their own goals. So it can be defined as the process of doing the assessment, which is the region specific demands of goods and services for the rural markets, and making the availability of the demanded goods and services to the rural consumers, which can in turn satisfy their demand, which can enhance their standard of living, and of course we are there to attain our own organizational objectives and goals which marketers have set for themselves. So coming to rural marketing mix, so broadly 4 P's are there in urban market, and the same is there in rural market as well. So we have to understand that their goods and services have to suit the existing life conditions of the rural consumers. So some extent of some kind of customization is very much needed. So current models of electronic gadgets may not be of much use to the rural people, because the basic infrastructure required to use those sophisticated technological products is either not present or not sufficient. So we have to always keep this thing in mind. We cannot provide them, we cannot offer them the state of the art technology or the latest technology when it comes to the technological goods, because to use those products, the kind of infrastructure which is needed, either it may not be present in that area or it may not be sufficient. So that customization is needed. So companies have to consider this very fact, and they need to come up with a different model for the same products for the rural consumers, and there are number of examples where marketers have actually been customizing the products according to the requirement of the rural India. They need to customize their product pricing, channels of distribution, and also promotion decisions. So all 4 P's of marketing, they are supposed to be customized as per the requirement of rural India to make it best suited for the customers for whom you are actually targeting. So you cannot go with the same product, price, place and distribution strategy what you have been actually using in case of metropolitan cities or the urban areas. So we have to make certain changes. What are those changes? I will tell you one by one for all the components of marketing mix. So let me start with the product mix, where the kind of decision we have to take. So most of the households in rural areas still may not have all consumer durable products. For instance, they may not have television, they may not have washing machine, refrigerator, gas stoves. Although with the emergence of Ujjwala Yojana now, most of the rural areas, they are covered under that LPG facility. So that is there, that is increasingly present over there. But there might be a possibility that they might not have the washing machine with them, they might not have the refrigerator with them. So this can be viewed as a rural market potential. This gap is being used as a market potential by the marketer. So the companies, they are dealing with the consumer durables, they can look up to these as markets for selling their products, and they are doing. There are several studies which have shown that rural markets are laggards in picking up new products outdated in the urban markets. So they are actually waiting for the technology to get upgraded, technology to be to become more you can say popular, so that they can also understand how to use it. So they think that those outdated products can be sold in the rural market. Some of the marketers, they are thinking. For instance, we can talk about the demand for semi-automatic washing machines. Of course, in metropolitan cities or in urban cities, nobody is going to buy the semi-automatic washing machine or the manual washing machine. So it is decreasing, the demand is decreasing, but that does not mean that these companies are going to stop manufacturing semi-automatic machines. Those machines can be placed, that they can be sold out to the rural India, cause the demand for semi-automatic washing machine is decreasing in urban markets, but it may have a high potential in the rural market, as it can be used even without the taps of running water, because in rural areas normally there is no running water facility. So they might be using it with the water which is being kept as a reserve. So for them, of course, the semi automatic washing machine is the best suited one. So if you provide them the latest technology in terms of automatic washing machine, which is loaded with all facilities, where there is almost no intervention of human being, then of course what is the need of offering that kind of product to them? They can't use it, because they might not have that requirement. So they are not going to invest that much of money into that washing machine which you are targeting for the metropolitan cities. Although the companies dealing with FMCG, they cannot jump into the rural markets blindfolded, or you can say the same way they have been operating in urban markets, because the consumption pattern of rural customers is entirely different from urban consumers. It is entirely different. They mostly use, if you talk about their consumption pattern in case of FMCG, I can give you an example. Rural people, they mostly use mustard oil and pure ghee when it comes to Indian rural market, which they can produce or make on their own. So if you try to sell them the mustard oil of your brand, or if you try to offer them pure ghee, they are not going to buy it, because it is something which they can produce or make on their own. So they rely on those products which they are actually manufacturing, or they are actually producing on their own. So FMCG companies will have to make constant and conscious efforts to deliver their products to the rural consumers as per their requirement. So if you start telling them about what exactly we mean by mustard oil, and if you use that USP of ALA, that it is comprising of alpha linolenic acid, so that acid is not going to help with them, because they have been knowing about the mustard and how to take oil out of it. So it is something which they have been doing for long. So marketers need to communicate with them in a different way. You have to understand what exactly they want and for what kind of products they need our services. So with regard to services, the rural markets are very promising. So villages also offer a huge market for services like telecommunication, healthcare facilities, and of course the education. For these sectors, it is very promising. So you need to keep this thing in your mind, that the demand for agriculture input is quite large in the rural market. It is quite large. So what can be your possible product strategy? If I have to tell you in terms of points, I would say that you have to talk about the small unit and low priced packing. Rural customers are not going to compromise with the quality of the product. They are not there to receive the low standard or inferior goods. They are always looking for the high priced products, even the branded products they are willing to buy. But for urban, but they are not going to pay that much of price which urban people can afford. So for that, there is a strategy which have actually been popularized by some of the companies. There is a term called sachet marketing. So providing the best quality products in small packaging, that has also caught the market, and that has been done by the marketers because of the huge demand in rural markets. So we still recall, if I have to give an example, I still recall the price of a bathing soap which was floated, which was actually circulated, which was positioned by the Hindustan Unilever Limited in the name of Dove. Initially the price was very high, but for the rural India, they came up with a small packaging of that particular product, the same product with the same quality. Calvin Klein is a company which came with the sachet branding for the first time, and they came up with the sachet of the shampoos which they are offering, and now we can find that almost all the FMCG products, they are available in either in Tetra Pak or in the small sachet. So it has actually been done by keeping in mind the requirements of the rural customers. So small units, offering in small units and low price packaging is actually the outcome of the rural demands. It has been done by keeping in mind what exactly the rural people want, their paying capacity. There are new product designs which have been developed for rural India. Sturdy products have been actually there into the kitty of the marketing strategy, and of course the brand name is also there. As a strategy, you have to differentiate yourself from that of your competitors. So my dear learners, this is a change which we are witnessing in the packaging, in the pricing, in the product, because of the rural markets. Because you cannot go for having one size fit all approach for the entire country. You have to understand that within this country, when you are entering into the rural market, you have to customize yourself as per their requirement. Now coming to the pricing strategy, of course they are going for low cost or offering the products at a reasonable price, what we call a cheaper prices, avoiding sophisticated packaging. They don't need that. They need the product in its proper format. Refill packs or reusable packaging is something which they prefer. They want application of value engineering. So this is something which you have to incorporate into your pricing strategy when you are entering into the rural market. So it is well known that the rural consumers prefer liquidity. We all know they don't want to part away with their money, and especially they don't wish to spend their money on the products and services which they can grow or make themselves. So there is no point selling those products which they can produce on their own. So they are also very price sensitive. We have to keep this thing in mind that they are very much price sensitive. This I am not saying, this has actually been approved by validated by several studies which are conducted in rural India. So not only that their source of income may not be very steady and regular, they have income only when they sell their agricultural produce, but the money which is actually controlled by the eldest male member of the family. That is something which is still prominent in rural areas. So for the other members, what happens, the only medium of exchange is the grains available in the house. So this is one of the reasons why few organized retailers, even they are offering this facility, that they have started accepting grains in place of cash in exchange of their goods and services. Imagine, it is only just to customize their requirement, that if you want to sell them, you have to go as per their requirement. So alternatively, they should be ready to sell their products on credit. If you don't want to go for the barter, then of course you should provide credit facilities to them and get the payments only when the harvested crops are sold by the farmers. So these were some of the strategic changes which marketers are supposed to make when it comes to the product and price decisions, which is being formulated and implemented for rural market. I will be telling you about the distribution and promotional strategies for rural India in the next lecture of mine. I hope I could provide you a better idea of what exactly a marketer has to do when they are entering into the rural markets. Thank you so much.